So I'm State Senator Jamie Eldridge of the Middlesex and Worcester District, and I have been a strong opponent of the proposed Kinder Morgan natural gas pipeline for a whole number of reasons. The district I represent comes very close to the original proposed natural gas pipeline, and I certainly heard from a lot of constituents about it, especially in the Groton, Pepperell, Townsend area. And when I think of that area, and really so much of Massachusetts, especially as we move west, is that so many people came here or decided to stay here because of the beautiful open space, the rivers, the streams, the conservation land that many communities spent decades and lots of money fighting to preserve. And so the idea that a pipeline would cross so much of this land, I think, is very antithetical to what Massachusetts stands for in terms of protecting open space, as well as being a very environmental state. But I think the opposition to the pipeline goes deeper than that, because over the past few years, Massachusetts has really become a leader in fighting climate change. We're the #1 state in energy efficiency, in large part due to the efforts of Governor Patrick and the legislature dating back to 2008, when we passed the Green Communities Act and the Global Warming Solutions Act, which set a goal for our commitment to reducing emissions by 2020 and 2050, which is really happening quite soon. And although we've made progress on investing in solar, in some cases hydro, and reducing our energy use, most studies show that we still have a long ways to go. And so that's why I was particularly surprised that there would be a consideration of bringing more natural gas to Massachusetts at a time where we don't really need that amount of natural gas to fulfill our energy needs. We have alternatives to that. And the fact that natural gas, of course, is a fossil fuel and will contribute to CO2 emissions, it's especially disturbing because much of this natural gas would be fracked natural gas. And we know that fracked natural gas, because of the greater incidence of leaks, especially the leaks of methane, is an even greater contributor to climate change. So it really doesn't make sense in terms of our values that we have in Massachusetts in combating climate change. And that's another reason why I'm firmly opposed. I know that Kinder Morgan and some of the utility companies suggest that this natural gas pipeline would create a lot of jobs. And I would respectfully say from the analysis is that while it would create a small number of construction jobs, those would be temporary. But any other kind of jobs in terms of maintaining the pipeline or dealing with how it's exported, really is very, very few jobs created from that. And that's quite a contrast from the jobs we've created over the past 7 years now in passing the Green Communities Act and the Global Warming Solutions Act. We've created tens of thousands of jobs in solar and wind and energy efficiency, in experts that are working with our communities to reduce our energy use. And I think that's a much more sustainable model to create jobs in Massachusetts. We're a state that of course, we don't have fossil fuels or most natural resources like oil or like gas. We don't have mining interest here. We rely upon our brain power, things like education and healthcare and innovation. And when I think about a natural gas pipeline, that to me seems the exact opposite of innovation. It's relying on obviously an old form of energy. It's an old industry that I think will create very few jobs, and I would argue drive jobs in solar and wind and energy efficiency out of Massachusetts to other states. So I work very closely with the grassroots in north central Massachusetts and western Massachusetts. I've gotten dozens of letters from people as far west as Richmond. And they're all saying the same thing. Stop the pipeline. It doesn't make environmental sense. It doesn't make sense for our commitment to combating climate change. It doesn't create jobs. And it really could ruin a lot of the precious resources and open space that makes so many of us proud to be Massachusetts residents. So I stand in shoulder to shoulder with the Stop the Pipeline movement, and we'll be supporting different pieces of legislation, including those filed by Representative Paul Mark and Representative Stephen Kulik, in different measures to send a clear message to Kinder Morgan and our utility companies that we do not support this pipeline and will do everything we can to stop it. The suggested change path of the pipeline doesn't change at all my views on it. I'm still firmly opposed because it's not just where the pipeline is, it's the mere fact of a pipeline coming through New England and all the negative effects that would bring to really all of the state. And so I'm firmly opposed to the pipeline and look forward to working with Stop the Pipeline in different efforts to prevent it from being built here. So I think it's important when looking at the proposed Kinder Morgan pipeline to really look at the details, not only the path of the pipeline, but also the details of why the company feels the justification for Massachusetts or New England that it allegedly needs this amount of natural gas. And I would respectfully disagree that they need this amount of natural gas. I think the real issue in terms of some of the delays in natural gas being provided in different parts of New England, it's about the inefficiencies of the grid and the inefficiencies of the infrastructure, and that's, quite honestly something that our utility companies should be doing a better job of. When you look at what the proposed natural gas that would be piped into Massachusetts, it would be about 2.2 billion cubic feet per day coming into Massachusetts. That's equivalent to 12 Vermont Yankees. So that's an alarming amount of natural gas that we really don't need. And of course, there would be a number of opportunities for export. And Kinder Morgan has suggested that it's not planning to export that, but I actually participated in a radio show with the Kinder Morgan spokesperson. And what the Kinder Morgan spokesperson said is if there was a credible, credit-worthy company that wanted to export, to purchase and export that natural gas, they would not be opposed to that. It's been very frustrating to get some of the details about the proposed Kinder Morgan natural gas pipeline and just their general plan. And I would respectfully suggest that, the comment from the spokesperson is suggesting that actually they are preparing, perhaps privately, to sell some of this natural gas to be exported. That's not going to address our region's energy needs, and again, I think that's much better used in reducing our energy use and investing in solar and hydro and wind. That's a much better strategy. It also creates a lot more jobs in Massachusetts. So I think it's important when we're looking at the details of this pipeline, I think there's a lot of hidden details that really don't serve Massachusetts well, and is yet another reason why I oppose the pipeline. And that's why I wanted to state my opposition to it, and I want to thank the opportunity to give my piece, and I look forward to standing shoulder to shoulder with the Stop the Pipeline movement. Thank you.